On the Common Link Theory by Fahd Alhomoudi. Chapter 1, Concluding Part. Several scholars before and after Schacht used different methodologies to set a time for when the corpus of prophetic tradition was originated. Motzki has divided these methods into 4 categories. The first category based the dating on the basis of matan, the text. The initiative step was taken by Goldziher, followed by Schacht, who based the dating not only on the matans, but on a result of different methodological approaches as well. Marston Spate used methods originally developed in biblical studies and applied them to the Islamic traditions. The second category based the dating on the occurrence of particular traditions and collections. Schacht was the first to use this method, followed by Juynboll, who also employed it in his article, The Man Kadhaba Tradition. The third category based dating on the basis of isnad, either by analysing the tradition or on a source of reconstruction on the basis of isnad. Analysing the tradition would be carried out on a single isnad as done by Schacht, or on several isnads as employed by Juynboll. However, the latter was criticised by both Cook and Motzki. Motzki's critique leads him to conclude, the idea that the most common links from Tabi'in generation onwards were collectors, not fabricators, has consequences for the dating of their traditions, when the time of the common link's activity as a scholar is, in many cases, not the terminus post quiem. His traditions have existed, as Schacht and Juynboll claimed, but the terminus ante quiem. We are entitled to assume that the common link received the tradition, at least the gist of it, from the individuals he gives as informants, as long as indications are lacking to the contrary. The informant of the common link is crucial to the dating of the tradition, not the common link himself. The informant's date of death, or more exactly the time in which the common link hath contact with him, is the terminus post quiem. Epistemologically, the shift of the terminus post quiem from the common link to his informants is accompanied by a decrease in certainty. The fourth category based the dating on the isnad and the matan. In this case, the combination might be called isnad kam matan or matan kam isnad. The above review briefly illustrates the position and significance of the CLT within the context of Schacht's overall views about the origins of Islamic law. The third chapter of this dissertation will examine more thoroughly the evidence in favour of the CLT cited by both Schacht and Juynboll. Evidence apparently based on their conception of what constitutes the formation of Islamic law. Only then can we examine the Schachtians' interpretation of the CLT in light of the traditionist's approach, which will be discussed more deeply in the first part of chapter 4. Soon after Schacht published his Origins of Mohammedan Jurisprudence, with its exposition on the CLT, a number of widely divergent opinions were voiced by scholars in the field. The lack of objective criteria for the validity of or invalidity of the theory was the main point of contention, separating Western and Eastern scholars. At one end of the spectrum, the separation lies Juynboll and Cook's wholesale acceptance of the theory, while on the opposite end we find Sezgin, Abbott, and Azami's wholesale rejection. Such diversity of opinion may well be a blessing. Certainly both parties' methods have greatly enriched our study of the CLT and the formation of Islamic law, but their respective methods tend to illustrate the propensity for the source material to give radically different legal interpretations rather than provide evidence towards confirming or refuting the approaches in questions. Others have taken a more pragmatic approach and reviewed each theory individually on its merits. It is nevertheless unlikely that the next generation will achieve any consensus on the validity of the common link theory. In the following chapter, I will elaborate on the positions held by scholars at the end of the spectrum, or the end of each spectrum. Starting with those who accept the theory, these two extremes were recognized by Juynboll, who stated that Islamic orthodoxy has rigidly kept to the tenets concerning traditions once they were formulated. On the other hand, Western scholars who did research into the Hadith came to entirely different conclusions. End of chapter 1.